Happy evening, everybody. How many of you agree with me that sales is equal to income, is equal to business? So no sales, no income, no business. If you agree with me, please type yes on the chat box, please. Thank you. And how many of you also agree with me that customer service is what enables a customer, a business to have a repeat sale? And as we all know, repeat sale is what gives you more profit, more growth, and more cash flow. Again, if you agree with me, I request all of you to type S on the chat box today. Thank you. Thank you. Friends, today I'm extremely happy to have the honor of having this particular 29th episode of our Sales Mastery Chat Show with a person whom I really respect, a person whom I've learned a lot from his talks and the speeches which I have heard him speak in various forums, especially the Professional Speakers Association. And I'm so happy that I'm talking to him on a subject which is very, very close to his and my heart. It's on the topic of customer service as a sales strategy. Because as I was in the initial introduction, talking about the importance of sales, and this particular Sales Mastery Talk Show, the basic intention is to make people aware, especially the young entrepreneurs who watch this podcast live or subsequently in our YouTube. They need to realize the importance of being trained in the sales, science, and art so that they can generate more profits, more growth, and more cash flow in their business. And the topic which we are discussing today, my friends, customer service as a sales strategy, we have a person who is so committed to it, to this particular topic. And just to give a small introduction of this great friend of mine, he's been a person who's a passionate hotelier and a service excellence champion, as he himself and as well as the others who know him call. With over 20 years of experience as an HR generalist and an L&D specialist, Afeef sir has worked in 6 countries and spoken in over 50 countries in service excellence, leadership, organizational behavior, and performance. Afeef is also a founding member of the Maldives Association of HR Professionals and Maldives Professional Speakers Association, and is currently the vice president of both the associations. So friends, you can see the legacy that Afeef sir carries. And Afeef is a community contributor and continuously works in the betterment of the nation. Afeef is a graduate of the Harvard Business School Executive Education. And that again, one more thing which really appeals to me is his passion for continuous and never-ending growth. He keeps on investing himself, and I know he's a person who has the philosophy of learning, unlearning, and relearning, as you can see from his continuous effort and endeavor to learn from the best. He also a senior director of a talent, culture, and quality assurance at the leading Lux Resorts and Hotels, one of the premium resorts of Maldives. So, Afeef sir, thank you very much for taking out your valuable time and being a part of it. So I welcome you on behalf of the Sales Mastery Talk Show.
Thank you very much, Aruna, for sharing such a wise and quite complimenting introduction. I'm sure that, when I always say that, one can read a very good profile, but the listeners and the viewers probably towards the end will decide how great it is. And I think we were off to a great start, and I'm sure this is going to be a wonderful talk show.
I remember last time when I heard you speak
Yes.
at the Professional Speaker Association. What I loved about you, you made one statement. He said all speakers who want others to listen, so when their talk is over, they also should be sitting in the auditorium to listen to the other speakers, because other speakers also want to be heard. That showed to me your empathy, your compassion, and your basically the heart, which is very, very essential for customer service.
Absolutely.
What do you feel, sir? How
No,
important is the quality of empathy, compassion, and love in a human being and in a team and an organization in order to render world-class customer service?
yes, I mean, I think this is fundamentally a very important point, because the first person, for example, if you work for an organization, the first people that needs to love their product and their services is not the customer; it's actually their own people. Because if they, for example, if I have a product and if I don't love my product and
Yes.
I keep on selling it to other people, we are not going to go very far. But if I love the product and if I have quite a desire and passion for the product, there's no doubt that I will excel quite well in any market. The same thing as professional speakers, with the right example that you gave. For example, we go to a conference and there are 40, 50 speakers. There are times when speakers, they will just speak and leave, and
Yes.
there's no time for them to collaborate or connect with other people. Now, the interesting thing is the speaker who just come and speak and leave also wants a big audience.
Yes.
So my point is that if you want a bigger audience for yourself, make sure you are also there for the other speakers and their audience. Otherwise, don't expect it. And I think this is exactly because, and you rightly unveiled, I think the key points there. When it comes to great service is something that you cannot just provide by having a policy or an SOP. It has to come from your heart. And to do that from your heart, you need to have a certain level of empathy. You need to also understand the compassionate part of it, which definitely helps you to take the right action towards providing service. Because after all, every single one around the world, we are somehow connected to the service value chain. From the morning we wake up until we go to bed, someone is serving us all the time. And
Absolutely.
we know that great service only happens if it comes from your heart. So I totally agree with the point, and I'm glad that you recall and you shared the same point as sort of our
Absolutely. In fact,
introduction
I was
question.
touched by that. And then I could see many of the speakers also touched, moved, and inspired. And people who were trying to walk out, they stopped and went back into their chair. And because that's ultimately, sir, as you already said, as human beings, if you're not compassionate, if you're not empathetic, if you don't have that love, which is care, respect, responsibility, and knowledge, then automatically you will not be a good trainer as well as a good facilitator. And the topic which we are covering today about customer service, that is an integral part. So I just felt I could see why they call you as the service excellence champion. I got a hint from that particular statement which you made on that day. Now, I just wanted you to tell the viewers, now, how did serving others become a key part of your life?
Yes, this is a very good question. I think when initially I finished my high school and I started working, my first job, in fact, was a librarian. So I was in charge of a
Oh,
library, which you have high school students come into the library, and there's about 3,000 to 4,000 books every day. And I'm usually in the afternoon shift. So the morning shift students will normally mess up the library and they just keep the books here and there. And my job is, because the afternoon, between the morning shift and afternoon shift, I get about 45 minutes to rearrange the library.
wow.
So when I go as the in charge of the library, I always organize the library prior to the afternoon shift coming. And then at the end of the afternoon shift, when I leave the job and I leave back to home, I make sure the library is arranged so
Awesome.
that all the 3,000 to 4,000 books are in the right shelves. And the morning in charge, who's actually senior than me, she would come and say, Afeef, how do you do this? I said, I just love this, because the people who comes to the library, they are our students and they are my customers. Therefore, if I don't do this for them, who else is going to do that? And I noticed that when I started arranging the library every day morning before the students arrive, because the night before I leave, I do that. So the students who would come, and those days, obviously, this was probably 15, 20 years ago, where reading was an essential part of higher secondary education, probably
Absolutely.
not anymore. I guess
Yes.
back then you have as a subject. And I started getting comments from these high school students in there. We want to go to library, and Afif is there because he keeps the library arranged and clean. And
Wow.
what changed was that the students start arranging the library by themselves. And I
Wow.
realized that I was serving them, and it got them inspired to serve other people. So service is basically an activity that you do that will always add value to other people if you do it with passion and love. I was never meant to be doing professional speaking and this sort of things. At least 20 years ago, I didn't knew that. In fact, when I finished the school while waiting for my results, I thought I want to join the army for some reason. I don't know why I thought it there. But when I started receiving comments from people about the good service I was providing, I said, well, our life is meant to serve other people. And
Yes.
that's when I got into the hospitality industry. And obviously, the rest is history because I realized everything I do is of service to other people. Even this podcast, if you're
Yes.
listening, you're watching, or you will later watch the recording, we are serving you. And thank you for joining to the circle of our service.
Absolutely, sir. So you very brilliantly said. Ultimately, you also said very, very beautifully that when you started keeping the library well, the students started to also keep it clean. So that's exactly why today,
Yeah.
as a top personnel or the top executive of this great Lux Resort, which is today in Maldives known for its impeccable service, great service. I think that's a culture. I think you are a person who is
Yeah.
driving that culture. And I think this point about service culture, and especially, of course, in the hospitality industry, it is taken that it has to be there. But to keep it at that global world class level, I think it requires a person of your integrity, your compassion, your love to do it. So, how did you establish this great service culture in your great resort in Maldives, which I've heard so much about?
Yeah, I look forward having you very soon in the
Yeah.
mornings. Now, it's very interesting question because service culture in an organization is not the building that you see or the nice billboards or advertisements that you see. Because you can have the most amazing advertisement about a product or a service that you provide, but the actual service experience is experienced by the person who goes into the organization. I want to share an example. I
Yes.
went to a hospital. It is in the capital city in Male, in the Maldives. I went to this hospital and yeah, I went to the reception. Had a conversation with the receptionist, and I went to visit a patient who was there and a friend of mine to check on her. So I went there. I said, "Where is this patient? Where can I visit her?" So basically, the receptionist looked at me and said, "Yeah, it's over there. Just go to take the elevator, go to the third floor." So there's no sort of a greeting or no sort
Oh,
of empathy towards this. There's no conversation. And as I was leaving the reception, right next to the reception, there was a big billboard, like from the ground to the ceiling, printed with vision, values, and there's something called our service credo. And
oh,
the number one point was we are friendly towards our customers.
wow.
They are friendly towards the customers, and this is what I got. So I went back to the reception and I asked another question from the receptionist to see if I read it wrong or if she's doing something wrong or what is the issue here. And she was not as friendly as I would expected. And then I realized the problem is not with that service credo board. It's the
Yeah.
problem with the organization culture and the people. So
Yeah.
culture is basically the way that the employees not just treat the external customers, but also treats internally with each
Yes.
other. And I always dissect this into four different elements. And one of them is if you want to have a great service culture, you've got to have your values and mission vision embedded in your culture. Everyone needs to walk and live by them. For example, the resort organization where I work, Lux Resorts and Hotels, if you go to any of our properties, when you move around, you will always be met by a friendly host. Doesn't matter you are a visitor, long stay, short stay, which nationality. We love serving you because that's the mindset we have created with our people. And that behavior is driven by the values of the people. It is the vision and the mission. So we have certain values where everybody is into it and repeatedly, every single day we remind them. For example, every day morning, all our section briefings will start with the value of the day.
Wow.
So when people read the value, it reminds them. And there's different communications that we send using digital platforms so that the people will be reminded because humans always forget.
Yes.
Therefore, we need to be reminded. And the second element of this culture is you got to have a culture of learning in the organization. You
Yes.
have to train people at the same time. Now, in customer service, for example, when you look at, you are a master and a world-class speaker trainer on sales. You know this very well.
Yes.
Training people on sales involves sales skills, at the same time sales education. The
Yes.
same thing with customer service, because customer service training is how to sell a product to a person. But
Yes.
education is how you can be accommodating, how you can ask the question. Maybe when the customer calls, for example, you hear a little bit different voice on the customer, and maybe you could ask the customer, "Sir, ma'am, are you all right?"
Yes.
Or maybe you call the customer on the sales call, and you hear, for example, there's horns from the vehicle, so you could assume that, oh, maybe my customer is on the road. Let's say
Yes.
you're an insurance broker and you call to get some insurance business done. You could tell the customer, I see that you're on the road. Can I call you back or can I reschedule the call? So training or learning education, either form of this is very important. And the third thing is that you got to have a system whereby you measure what matters.
Yes.
Meaning, you've got to reward your people. You've got to recognize your people. You've got to appreciate the people. I mean, I wish I had more time to sort of elaborate this, but I think the key point is one you got to have a recognition system, and you have to measure what matters, and what matters is defined by the top leader. If you don't see service is important, no one else is going to see, even though how many trainings that you do. And the last one in this culture element is you got to have a culture where people are encouraged to be innovative and creative. Now, since this is a sales mastery, I want to give an example to you. Let's say, for example, you are in an insurance business, and you are an insurance broker. You called 10 customers today and you didn't get any business. Imagine it's the last customer you're calling, the 10th customer you're calling, and you try to sell a package to the customer. And maybe the customer says the premium is a bit higher. If you're a broker and agent, the agent should be empowered and to know that the least amount that you can charge the customer if you are to give a discount. I mean, because in most companies, the broker may not have this authority, or I mean, this is an insurance example, but in other business also. And then he has to call his supervisor and the manager and speak to him to get the discount. By the time this customer already found another business and
Yes.
left. So this is a creative and innovative way of empowering your people. So these four elements are very important, as I just spoke quite passionately about it. Yes, in
Yes.
summary, is you're going to have a great value system, and
Yes.
everyone needs to live by that. You got to have good culture of learning and training. You got to measure what matters, and you got to have a culture of innovation and creativity where people feel like they can make good decisions at the best interest of the customers.
Awesome, brilliant. I think it's a master class on customer service, as we have seen, and I think if anybody can, I would say this is a master class for leadership of how to create a culture of customer service. As you beautifully said, create a value system, create a mission vision statement, have a constant training and learning environment. You need to measure it so that whatever gets measured and managed and whatever gets recognized and rewarded gets repeated. And as you brilliantly said, you have to allow that innovation, creativity at all ends and empower them to do that. Brilliant. I think this 4 points of any leader, top leaders, if they can get these 4 points, they'll be able to definitely create a culture of customer service. Thank you very much, sir, for this brilliant answer.
Yeah.
Afeef sir,
Thank
next
you.
thing I know, you talked
Yeah.
about learning and development. You don't not only are
Yes.
a global world-class trainer and a
Mm.
speaker who has spoken in more than 50 countries, but I know you constantly keep on investing, and you have
Yes.
educated yourself in Harvard, okay,
Yeah.
in one of their most prestigious courses also. So I would want you to tell our audience, especially the young
Yes.
entrepreneurs, because many of them consider that investing on themselves in training and development is an expense. But you and I know that it's not an expense; it's an investment. So on the basis of your your global education, which you
Yeah.
take and also give. what would be your advice to the young entrepreneurs?
No, this is, as a young entrepreneur starting the business, you know what you don't know what you don't know. Remember the rule. Meaning your business will expand to the level of three things. Number one is your business will expand to the level of your knowledge.
Yes.
And there's a saying that knowledge is power.
Yes.
For me, it's hard to believe with the statement. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge is potential power, but knowledge becomes power when you apply it. So you got to apply it. I mean, you can go and study in the best management institute in India, but if you're not doing anything with that, I mean, who cares and who bothers, right? That's the reason why, like you mentioned, I study, I give it back. And I can tell you in the last 15 years in my areas of training development, whether even in my full-time job or whether I do a lot of community voluntarily work and speaking in many different countries, I have actually given more than I have received. And that
Wow.
makes me a very happy person. Because the more you give, I always realize I get more, the more I give, I receive more in different forms. For example, I would go to a conference and I would offer to help them as a voluntarily person. I mean, it could be just fill in the goodie bags with stationaries for the conference or opening the door. But you meet so many different people and they become your friends. Like both of us have met at the, I think first time we met in person was at the Professional Speaker Association event in Chennai, and then
And
we recently also met in New Delhi, and I'm sure I'll see you in Mumbai. So that's the first one. The second thing is young entrepreneurs, you gotta have this mindset of what we often, I think, he probably hear this word for growth mindset. Now, people use the growth mindset like it is the thing. It is the thing only if you live by the growth mindset, which means you got to expand your awareness. You see, for example, let's say if you're a leader, if you're an entrepreneur, and your awareness level is 5, which means everything in your business will touch at 5, it won't reach to 6. You see, you have the potential of 6, 7, 8, and 9, 10. Let's say if we take measurement from 1 to 10, right? Meaning, F at 5, if you're not studying and learning, let's say 5 years ago, that's why if somebody asks me, Afeef, what's the best podcast or training you have ever delivered or recorded? If I tell 5 years ago I had a podcast with Joe Maxwell, meaning I'm living 5 years behind. The
right.
best podcast that I have done ever is this podcast, this one
Wow.
with Dr. Arun. You know
Yeah.
why? Because I am giving my best at this moment of time. And that's growth mindset. So you got to be continuously looking at how can I look at more ways to expand my sales? How can I look at more ways at my value to my employees? And the third thing is very important. I think the importance of having discipline as an entrepreneur. An
Yes.
entrepreneur discipline, both professional and personal, is absolutely critical because I tell you, your business rise to the level of your discipline and it falls to the level of your. I mean, I recently, obviously, when many of you are aware with this amazing, beautiful wedding of Ambani and the family,
Yes.
I recently did a research on all the richest people in India.
Right.
I read their profiles. And one thing that came very common with the most humble people.
Right.
They live by the value of discipline and contribution. For example, personally, I have had the opportunity to meet with Azim Prenji,
Yes.
which is the founder chair of the Wipro, and it's amazing human being. And I met him in a conference that was in India a couple of years ago. It's such a humble human being. And in his speech, he spoke at that event where I was. He said, if there's one thing that he would give credit for his success, it's the discipline of him and his organization.
Yeah.
So your awareness, you got to expand your awareness. You got to live by the growth mindset, which is really learning every single day. Don't go to bed without learning something new, because a day you go to bed without learning something new is a day you have wasted living. Because you may think, oh well, I made a lot of money today. No, that money will keep moving, right? But if you learn something, you could actually make even more money out of it. So that's the point, and obviously the third one is the discipline. So I think this is really very important for young entrepreneurs, and unfortunately, we live in a world where we're in the social media where we see a lot of things, and at a young age, and we go like, oh my God, how is this person having this, and why not me? obviously we are in envy one way or the other. But that's not what you should be
Yeah.
comparing yourself with. You should be comparing yourself with yourself. As a young entrepreneur, wake up every single morning and ask this question: what can I do today to make my business, my organization, my people, my customers a better place? And there you go. You will have answers, and trust me, you will achieve wonderful results along the way.
Brilliant, brilliant answer. In fact, uh, one of my mentor used to always say, Apuresh Acharya is a Dale Carnegie's peak trainer. He says self-discipline is a key to the Godan of success and happiness. And when I was further
Yes,
researching and for my last book, it said that self-discipline, as you very, very rightly said, is doing what is to be done even when nobody is watching you. And
yes,
self-discipline is doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like doing it. And
correct.
as you very rightly said, that's what is the hallmark of all the great people. And exactly what I think each and every young entrepreneur or young executive, whosoever is listening to your this important point, agar this one self-discipline, if he incorporates, I think he can take his life 10x in any area of your life, be it your personal or professional.
Definitely.
Very, very well said. Sir, now coming down to your business, because you have been an important member of this Lux Resort to take it to the top
Yes,
level. Now, as a sales trainer and coach, I always say selling or business is nothing but identifying potential customers, acquiring them, retaining them, and nurturing them. So, in this particular
yes,
definition, I remember the most important thing is repeat business. And I wanted to learn from
yes.
like how important it is for how important role that customer service plays in getting that repeat sale and thereby more profit and more growth and more cash flow for the company. So your comment on
Yeah,
this?
no, I mean,
Yeah.
no, absolutely. I think this is the future of where the business is headed. I mean, there's this interesting story of a Chinese traveler, and this happened about 10 years ago, but it's really relevant to what is happening in
Yes.
today's world, and I can give many examples. So this particular customer is a very famous tennis star in China at the time, and her name was Lena. So she went and bought a soft toy, like a small soft toy. And this soft toy, apparently the same company who was producing this have stopped producing it because as per the company, they thought that it was outdated. But she loves this soft toy and she ordered this soft toy and the soft toy came to her home and she posted a video of it on the Chinese, obviously, version of Facebook
Mhm.
at the time. And she posted it, and just in couple of days, over 700,000 and 1 million people viewed and shared it. Now, when you are in love with this celebrity star, the tennis star Lena, and if you're a fan, what do? You also want the same soft toy because
True.
she wrote a very good review about it and she recommended and she said, I love the service and the company. Now, what happened was this company starts going crazy because right after that, the company starts getting requests for the same product. Now, note that this product is already out of their production line, because for them
Right.
it's an outdated product. Because of one customer and the customer's loyalty and the customer good service from the customer, the company had to put this product back into operation, whereby they ended up selling over 2 million of that same particular soft toy. Is sort of a Pooh Bear kind of a soft toy, and end up bringing it back into production. Up until today, they have the product. So the lesson from this is that you can have the most amazing product, but if the service is not key, it will be hard to bring the repeat business. And in a world where every single one, for example, look at airline business. In
Yeah.
airlines, you have the same product. Everyone's got the commercial aircraft, either from Boeing or Airbus. How come some of the best airlines in the world, whether it's the Singapore Airlines or whether it is, for example, the Emirates or Qatar Airways, how come these airlines are keeping the service at then the repeat business the very best? If you, for example, try to book a Singapore Airlines business class ticket, you'll be very lucky if you can get one because they're always fully booked in most more sectors. Why? And plus, Singapore Airlines never brings the price down because they
Yes.
say we provide a great service, therefore you got to pay. And I think customers who love good service doesn't complain when they have to pay a higher price, right? I mean, for example, we all use iPhones. Do we all complain about iPhones? No, we
Yeah.
don't. Why? Because we love its services, its offers, its reliability, and so on and so forth. So to get the repeat business, you got to have a very, very good service strategy where the customers feels like, oh, this business is better than I thought at the very beginning. I mean, we just had the Easter holidays in our resort in the Maldives.
Right.
We have 193 rooms. 46 rooms were all repeat guests that
Wow.
have already been here 2, 3 years. Just do the calculation there. I mean, out of 193 rooms, 46 rooms are all repeat business, which means these are customers who's been here at least once or twice. And they are coming here. They come here. They're not asking for the food or they're not asking, can I get the same room or the same mattress? They know that there's a great product here. They are coming and asking, hey, have you seen this team member? I mean, there's a particular
Ah,
kid that I met, keeps on coming, and he's coming here to get the babysitting service just from this particular babysitter. Because parents, when they make holiday decisions, if they're traveling with the kids, they don't make decisions by themselves. They ask from the kids. So if the kids are happy, parents will be happy. So you're going to give a very good service. So overall, it's the same thing. Hence, you got to really have a very good service strategy across the company where you retain repeat business and reach them out, connect with them, have programs that helps them where they find your business attractive.
brilliant. Absolutely. You said it. Ultimately, as I said, uh, through good customer service, you win that customer's trust. And trust is a
Yes.
very, 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 very valuable resource for any company. And as you rightly said, 48 repeat customers, that itself, and the people remember in a sales, we always teach them that repeat sale is the most inexpensive sale. The
Yeah.
first sale, normally, company has to spend a lot of money promoting it, giving the presentation and acquiring them. But if you give a good customer service, as Afeef sir is talking about, the
Yeah.
repeat sale is automatic, which is more profitable because you have not spent money acquiring the customer. Am I right, Afeef sir?
Yeah. Absolutely. And some one interesting story just came to my mind because a senior top executive of a large organization, I unfortunately can't share the name because it's a very private story, but I met this executive a couple of years ago in Singapore and we were talking and he was telling, and he was wearing a very nice jacket. And I said, suit. And I said, my God, this looks amazing. Is it handmade? Is it, or you just bought it from the shop? I said, no. I said, tell me the story. For 15 years, this particular CEO,
Ah,
he visits a particular tailor in Sicily, in Italy, every year, twice, to get all his tailor-made, handmade jackets done. I said, why? I mean, you are a CEO, you got private jet, you can fly anywhere. He said, no. He said, first time I went there, I wanted a particular jacket. He did not have the material. He said, sir, you are the only customer who came today here. Let me help you to make your dream come true. I will give you a water plus ticket by tomorrow. I don't have the material, but I'll make it happen for you. So this executive said, I took a risk. I paid. The next day I came, the jacket was prepared, and it was the most amazing jacket. And it's the reason why he actually became a customer for 15 years. So just imagine this. And now imagine how many other CEOs he must have told this story. And this particular tailor, outskirts of Sicily, this guy is one of the, I mean, he probably have about 10 repeat customers, and that's all he had. And he makes millions of dollars just in that
wow.
business.
Absolutely.
And exactly, yeah.
But Afeef sir, you just nailed a point, which is today the crux of any good sales consultant or sales trainer's point. He says, always view a customer for his lifetime value. And as you beautifully said, just 10 loyal customers he makes millions of rupees. So lifelong value of a customer in terms of not only one individual, it can move on to his family, his community, his organization, and so on and so forth. So all that it requires, ultimately, the crux again is customer service, customer service. So that's a point which is very well taken. I think word of mouth publicity or testimonials is what we are talking about today. I think in the hospitality industry, everybody talks about testimonials, and we all know even in
Yeah,
our digital marketing, people review as to how is the feedback and review of the customer. So I wanted Afeef sir, you to give us an input as to how important is testimonials and how should an organization
yeah.
be trained towards developing those healthy, uh, authentic testimonials and word to mouth publicity campaigns.
Absolutely. It is the most important thing. Here's why. Because in reviews, you can get two types of reviews. One is a bad review and the other one is a good review, right? Obviously, we all want very good reviews. We want 5-star, 4-star good reviews to get. Now, before I talk about the good review side, here's a very important strategy for you to really top your sales. Imagine it's a 1 month, 30 days, and your business, and let's say your business is a healthcare business, and you had one customer who complained about the quality of the reception service, one customer, but you had maybe 200 customers in 1 month. And you are the boss, and you goes like, well, we had 200 customers and only one complained about the quality of the reception. We don't need to invest in looking at what happened.
Ah,
That's where average and mediocre starts in your business.
hmm.
If you want to create mastery in sales and the top world-class service business and culture in sales, you have to even take that complaint, because the day when customers stop complaining is the day your business stops growing. That's exactly what happens. Complaints are a good source. It's a resource that you get to invest. So in our business, or in most of the hospitality industry business and service industry and great companies that I know, even one complaint they get, they will investigate, they will dig, they will find out exactly what happened, they will call the customer, because every customer is important.
Yes.
And just imagine, so that's one negative complaint. Now, if you get lots of great reviews, amazing reviews from customers, whether it is through various social platforms or Google reviews, or let's say in the hospitality business, be TripAdvisor or any sort of reviews, if you get good reviews, don't take it for granted.
Yes.
You have to appreciate these customers. So in our organization, every good review we get, personally, our general manager and obviously our top executives relevant to their operating units, they will respond personally. So it's not a copy paste reply, or it's not a chat GPT written or a AI generated. It's a personalized one, because customers want. And yes, it takes time, by the way. But you know what? How many customers actually appreciate those reviews, and immediately they see, they go like, oh my god, I stayed in this other hotel company, that they never replied to my email. This general manager replied, you know what, I am going to go and stay in their hotel again, and I'm going to tell it to someone else about their hotel. And that's how we multiply our business, right? And that's how we lead towards the 10x strategy, which you are the master of it. Now, it is absolutely critical to do that. And also, there's nothing wrong in asking for reviews. For example, in my one of my roles is quality assurance. I go and talk to the guest as much as I can in events, and obviously where I work, a lot of the guest events are hosted also by me and my team. So I get to meet with guests, and they tell me, if the service is great, and I said, I'm so delighted to hear this. I would love you to take a moment and share it in any platforms that you would prefer, because different customers have different platforms nowadays. They could write a Facebook review or Agoda, Google review. So we don't tell them exactly where, but please do share with someone else. And this, of course, we will do. I noticed that of 10 guests that I would encourage them, invite them to write reviews or contribute reviews, there's normally about 4 to 5 you get, and it's always considered as a win. Because if you don't ask, you don't get.
Brilliant.
Customers don't have time. So you got to encourage them. Don't just tell them, oh, you got to write a good review. No, inspire them to write a good review. Encourage them to write a good review. That's what I would say.
Absolutely. In our sales training, we tell them today a sales cycle gets over not after you get the full money. You get your sales call gets complete only after you get a testimonial. And as you rightly said, a testimonial is a sure shot indicator of how much the customer is happy. If he is not happy, customers today are quite assertive to tell you, boss, I will not give you, or if I give you a testimonial, I'll give you a bad testimonial. As you said, one bad testimonial can lose you hundreds of your future sales. So,
Yeah.
asking for review and respecting the review. And as you very rightly said, even one mediocre or bad review should be followed up so that it can be self-corrected. And that is very, very critical for the sustained growth and development of any company. Brilliantly said, sir. Absolutely. Now, I would just wanted you, because as a senior leader of not only Lux Resort, but even in the Maldivian overall business development, you are a vice president of all the premium organization. Because I want you to give advice to especially the young entrepreneurs, both in India and in the entire Asia Pacific, where they will be listening to this. How do you start inculcating this customer service among the team?
Yes. I love this question. I always say that, let's say if you're an entrepreneur or startup business or a small, medium, doesn't matter what type of business, I think the culture of your organization and the service, it all starts from you. Because what you speak to your people is what your organization will become. So imagine if you have, for example, every month you have a leadership meeting. And for 6 months, you had it on a regular basis, but you never spoke about the importance of service and you never raised a concern. I will never forget this when I was working for another hotel company called One and Only Resorts at the time. And we are one of the most amazing hotel group in the Indian Ocean at the time. Even now they are, because I work with them. So I'm still, I always give good reviews about them. So at the time, I was working with the CEO, Paul Jones, and he's the CEO of Lux now, and I'm
Wow.
working with him again. Wonderful leader, great. And I remember I think it was the month of February in 2008. We had an amazing high occupancy, high rates. The guests are paying about $2,000 per night. There was a guest who came and stayed with us, a couple from the UK, and they somehow had a bad stay. As you know, it can happen because businesses will have bad experiences. As much as
Right.
we love to have all good experiences, we'll have bad experiences. And the guest wrote a big review. And back in the days, the questionnaire, the forms are all manual. So the questionnaire, I went to his office in London via post, and the guest wrote quite a negative review about how they felt. So the CEO could simply send it to the GM and say, give a call to the customer, the guest, and find out what happened. He didn't do that. You know what he did? He
Hmm.
wrote a memo about this whole guest complaint. Like he broke it down into different segments of the complaint. This is the complaint. Here is what the guest said. Here's how the customer felt. And he ended the memo by saying, if you are a customer paying this amount of money staying in this resort, how would you feel?
Feel.
And
Wow.
if you feel the value is not worth, then it's time we rethink about how we think about complaints. So he sent this memo to all the the senior leaders, and this happened in 2008. I still remember. I think somewhere I still had the memo with me because I thought that was a gift that I received. Because that day I realized the importance of the leadership team. Because he sent in the memo, he made it clear to everyone, we are not accepting this sort of complaints around the organization. Service is the top priority. So the number one is you've got to declare service as the top priority. You have to speak it to the people and you have to role model it. How do you role model it? The service that you give to your people. Let's say you are a startup company in the IT space and you have an app that runs a particular business. You have 10 employees working with you. And you are saying you got to give great service to all the app users and this and that, and you're making a big noise about it. On one day, one of your employees got sick. What service are you providing to him? You got 10 people, give him a call and say, hey, I saw from the group, WhatsApp group that we are in, that you're not feeling well. Is there anything I can do for you? Just take the time today and be. For example, when the pandemic happens, I had to send all our employees in two Maldives properties on holiday, 1,000 people. And we have quite a lot of Indians working with us. I remember in most part of India, it was lockdown.
Yes.
When they left from the Maldives, I was in touch with them. I checked and I ensured they reached their home safely. I remember there was one case where they had to go. They went to New Delhi, and I think to that particular city there was the border was closed, and they were stuck in the police station. And I was in touch with them until they could go home. It's the care, right? What's the return of it? When we reopened the border, all of them came back home. We didn't have to do any hiring. So the key and most important thing is make service a priority, and at the same time make sure you walk the talk, role modeling, and everyone can do that. It's a mindset, it's intentional that you, and if you do that, trust me, your people will be inspired to provide good service, because they will say the boss is giving the same service to me, therefore I am going to give the same to our customer, ultimately resulting in the magic of the great sales.
Absolutely. I think you touched upon a brilliant point. If you want your team to give good customer service, they also should be given service equally well by their team members or by their leaders. So I think this is a brilliant point. Actually, that this is where again the culture point comes into picture. Like, you can't expect your team to give the best service, but when they themselves are not given the same treatment. In fact, in India, Afiba, in fact, Taj is a hotel which I like,
Yeah,
and they are really good, because especially they are in your hospitality business. The main reason is that the people are made to feel real good, and when they are made to feel real good, automatically they are also able to make the same thing to their customers. So this is actually
absolutely.
ultimately a chain reaction.
No,
And
definitely. I've stayed in a couple of hotels in Taj, in Mumbai, and in other places in India, and also in other countries where they operate hotels. Absolutely, there's a great culture. And you rightly mentioned a very, very important point, because how you made your people feel inside the organization is eventually the message of how you want your customers to feel. And that's, I think, the key point here.
absolutely. I think this is a brilliant point which has come out of this particular thing. Many of the young entrepreneurs should realize that if they want their end customers who are giving them money to feel or experience great customer experiences, their team members need to be given the same type of a feel. So that automatically gets passed on to that. In fact, I want you
Yeah,
to.
I mean, Dr. Aruna, the other point is that if we study any large company in the world, like, let's say, for example, Netflix, how they started, and they're one of the large companies in the world today, Airbnb, right?
Yes.
Uber. They started like, just out of nowhere, out of a crisis and a struggle. They started this, right? Now, the story of, I think, if you're a young entrepreneur, probably somebody who reads, how this business started. You see, those organizations, they are great today because they created a culture internally so strong that there's a bond and a relationship among each other, that they want to thrive in the business. Because Uber came to compete with the regulated taxi industry. I mean, how will you survive? And the Airbnb came to, with no rooms in the inventory, they came to compete with the world's top hotels.
Yes.
But they created a culture of service excellence inside, ultimately, on the very beginning. And of course, I mean, Netflix had its own issues, Airbnb had its own issues, Uber had its own issues in different parts of the world. But the point is that if there's a great culture, you will thrive whatever happens in your business.
Very well said. In fact, they say whenever you have a choice between being right and being correct, choose to be kind rather than being correct. I think that can be one
Yeah,
philosophy which you can apply both for your internal team and external team. Your comment on
absolutely.
that, Afibai?
No, definitely. Because I mean, it's the same thing. Let's say you have an employee that you want to, we are on a sales podcast. Let me give a sales example.
Yes.
to really reflect on what you just said. If I'm a sales manager and I have 5 sales managers with me, and I want to give them feedback, and I want to sit them at the end of the month, it's important that for every corrective or negative comment that you make, or every way to improve, you got to find 5 different positive things to encourage them.
Yes.
But in most cases, what happens is the opposite. You have one good thing to say,
Yes.
but 5 different things to improve. You will see magic when you look into 5 good things and 1 negative things. And why? Because you are putting kindness in the front. If you and then, there's another saying by Les Brown, one of the motivational speakers. Les Brown said that you've got to connect with people before you correct people.
Wow.
You can't correct people. You can't correct people if you don't connect with people. So connecting starts with the kindness.
Yes.
And I think that's one example. For example, me, I'm doing this podcast, and I think I was attracted to your kindness towards adding value to me as a speaker. I said, you asked me, I'm going to be here. You ask me again, I'll be there. You ask me to expand on this again, I'll be there. Because kindness, you give kindness to me, I will automatically give the same back to. And I think that is how it really works on. So I think this is an absolutely critical thing internally in the organization. You've got to create that so that it will also be around elsewhere.
So very said. Principle of reciprocity. Absolutely. What you give, so you get at all levels.
Yeah.
Very, very true. Vibha, I was very impressed with your Harvard Business School executive education, which you did in 2016 and 17.
Yeah.
How was your experience? And what would you like to tell the young
Yeah,
entrepreneur?
I mean, it's it's a total. I mean, I have to say this. At the time I went, and obviously thereafter I've been to there many times and many programs I've attended. But the first time I went there, I wasn't like this as a leader. I
Wow.
wasn't thinking the same way. I wasn't speaking the same way. I did, the way I think, the way I speak, the way I talk, the way I do things has completely changed. Because when you're in the Harvard Business School, you're actually in the greatness of the world, because the world's top people are there. And in fact, there's a saying that if you are in Harvard Business School and if you're not anxious and if you don't have anxiety, like to be around there, then you have a problem. Which means, yeah, because I mean, this is the highest risk taking place.
Right.
Because people are there to study, to learn, to get the best out the case studies. I mean, you got to read those case studies out there before you go. And I have to tell you, one of the most important thing that I realized was that as a leader, because prior to this, I already had a MBA from London School of Business. So I've studied, and I'm somebody, like you mentioned, somebody who invests a lot in my time. But I realized that every time I've gone into Harvard Business School classroom and leaving the classroom, I realize, oh my God, the more I learn, I realize the more I don't know.
Wow.
And the second thing I realized was that what we miss in the business world is not the knowledge or not the number of MBS that you can earn, is the practicality of those things. Because Harvard Business is all about practical stuff they teach. So there's a case study, you basically break down the case study into pieces. By the end of the class, you learn about, let's say you want to learn about supply chain, they give you a case study. And you learn the case study, you talk about the case study for 90 or 120 minutes. That itself is a book about supply chain, because they're
Wow.
giving you practical stuff. So what's happening in today's world with the entrepreneurs? Let's say you do an MBA and you start business because you have the funding, the resources. Now, at some point of your business, you struggle. What's
Yes.
the problem? It's because not that you don't have the knowledge, you got the right knowledge, and you're probably doing the right thing, but the world has changed compared to the time you studied the MBA.
Yes.
So you got to read case studies, you got to be aware. There's lots and lots of things on YouTube that also we can learn. But I think the key point is that you got to be someone you got to be, like my friend Les Brown says, you got to be hungry to really look at what's happening in the world and study. And the Harvard Business School taught me the idea and the most important, the power of humility. Because everybody in my class, I think at the time I was the most junior guy in the class. Everybody was a CFO, CMO, CTO, CHRO, They own, some of them are, there was one guy in my class who's one of the most hedge fund manager.
Wow.
And I realized that he is there to study this leadership and the other stuffs. And me, I'm just growing up and studying this. How lucky I am. I think the humility was one thing I still carry. And then I realized I have to give back. So when I remember when I came back from Harvard Business School, my first module, I came back, I created a program and I taught it to my people.
Wow.
And I realized the power of giving back. So I think it has changed my life for better. I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't have the opportunity to go. And that's why I think different. I mean, I speak differently, I think differently. Sometimes my ideas may not be welcome by everyone because they may not think the same way as I am. I'm fine with it because I always say to people, I don't speak to make them happy. I speak to help them. It's a different thing. Because if you're willing to receive help, you don't have to like what I say, but you can perhaps think about my ideas and maybe do what's best for you. If it doesn't apply to you, you can let it go. So I think that's really the point is.
Brilliant. Absolutely. As rightly said, and I like this point about you that as soon as you came back, you prepared a module and shared. And that
Yeah.
helps both ways, helps the people who are listening. And at the same time, it helps you to further go deeper into those concepts because teaching
Yeah, exactly. And
learning.
you and I, we were recently in India Professional Speaker Association in New Delhi, a great conference. When I came back, I shared all my learnings with my exco team. We had a meeting and I shared because they didn't have the opportunity to go, but I shared, and I know from what I shared, they are inspired to do what they do best. So we all can make this world a better place.
And everybody benefits. Yeah. What goes around
Yeah.
comes around. One
Yes.
more thing I want to ask you. You are writing a
Sure.
book, I think, which is
Yes.
very eagerly awaited and which is going to be released maybe in the forthcoming PSCI summit at
Yes.
Maldives. I would like to speak something about it because I think you
Yes.
deserve it. You're working
Yes.
hard on it. Yes. Your
No,
book.
no, definitely. I must also thank one of my mentor who always inspired me to do, and I think we have a friend in common, Kirba
Yes.
Shankar, who really inspired me, and I've completed sort of 75–80% of the book writing. Now I'm putting it all together, obviously going through the month of Ramadan. It's a little bit slow, so I'm not able to put the time and effort given the long hours of, the time we have to wait, we have to wait without eating, and then obviously at the night, hours are a bit short. We still have to work the same number of hours. So there's a bit of challenge. But as soon as the Ramadan is over, I'm gonna get back in full mode and complete. And definitely in the next 2 to 3 months, you will actually see the book launch.
So
I
what is the
have
book
not
called?
yet.
Can you tell me a little bit about? Can you tell the
Yes,
listeners?
I think I wanted to title the book around "Discover Your Greatness Within You." So the book is going to be all about every human being. We have some greatness within us, and there is potential, but we discover greatness to the level of the work that we put in. So there's going to be stories of inspirations, ideas, activities, and things. And I really look forward having this published because I'm inspired by you that you got so many books that you already published, and I'm sure it will. And of course, I think in our business that we do, we're all inspired by everyone, regardless of the seniority or the age
Yeah, I
or
really
anything.
want to
There's
acknowledge.
something great in everyone. So this is going to be what the book, and I'm excited, and certainly it won't be the last one; it's the first one. But you're going to write one book to write 10 books, so I am taking the challenge.
And we look forward to and appreciate your courage. And of course, we also thank Kiruba Shankar, a common friend who's a real lovely mentor and always a inspirer for all of us to do our very best. And he's always there to support us. I really want to acknowledge him for his contribution in both
Absolutely,
your
yeah.
and my life as well. And Afeef bhai, I just didn't realize the time is 5:59. Almost
I
completed.
cannot believe
We
I
can,
cannot believe we spoke for an I cannot believe we spoke for an hour. But
yes.
it's been, I think, incredible conversation.
I really am, and I want you to have the last word. What is the
Yes.
advice you would give to all the young entrepreneurs who are starting their business or who are already managing their business in terms of customer service, in terms of how it can help them grow their business? Your last.
Yes. Absolutely. I think the key point that I would like to everybody to leave with today is that what was amazing in customer service last year or the year before is not amazing today. Because what was a surprising element 5 years ago is expected in our business today. It's just basic. Therefore, you have to always look at how you can elevate the experience.
Mm.
Even if you are in the in the tech space, there's different ways you can enhance the user experience. And I'd like to leave you with this interesting story so that you could rethink.
Yes.
I won't tell you the name, but for example, I do banking with a bank for a bank in Malaysia. And
Okay.
every year they give a lounge card, which I could use. But the card has access only to the airports in Malaysia.
Oh,
Now, I don't travel to Malaysia that often. I go there once in a, if I go there, I normally travel via Singapore, not directly. Meanwhile, I have other airline gold cards and I have other lounge cards that I could use. What if this bank study about me as a customer and
yes.
say, Afeef doesn't use this card. What else we can give? Now, here's an example. Even in the digital space, I use iPad and all this stuff, but I still love taking notes on notebook. So I
Yeah.
always carry a notebook with me. For me, a notebook, a nice, maybe a nice notebook is more worth than a lounge card. My point is that in your business, you've got to study your customers, you've got to study their behaviors and adjust your packages and perks and benefits and conditions and this and that based on the behavior of customers. You will actually earn more money. You will earn more loyalty. Don't do something in customer service space because someone else is doing. Don't give a gift because someone else is giving a gift. Give a gift because it matters to your customers. That's what I like to leave you with today.
Brilliant. I think you said it very nicely. You have to personalize and customize as per every individual customer's need. And that's what is going to make him really feel it and thereby remember it and thereby gain his trust and loyalty. Brilliant, sir. I think brilliant point to end the conversation with. Aviba, again, I want to acknowledge you, appreciate you, thank you. In this Ramadan month, when you are fasting, you still on just one call acceded to request to be a part of our Sales Mastery Talk Show. And thank you very much for valuing these nuggets of wisdom, which I'm sure number of entrepreneurs who will be viewing this talk show on our YouTube channel to benefit from. Thank you and God bless. Thank you and
Yeah,
God bless.
thank you, Dr. Aruna, for the opportunity, and I wish you the very best in what you do and looking forward, perhaps meeting you in the Maldives or in Mumbai. So until then, thank you very much.
Awesome, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.